Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to In.The.News. Live news and commentary from around the world by your host, Holy Joe Rock and Roll.
Good day, everybody. It's July the 12th, 2016, Tuesday. This is Holy Joe Rock and Roll, and this is In the News. What I'd like to do is take you back in the time machine to 1992, when we had another election similar to what's lining up right now. In 1992, we had three candidates: Bill Clinton, who we see here on the left; George H.W. Bush; Hubert Walker Bush, also known as Bush 1 or Bush 92. I think it was 41. Bush 41, right? And of course, Ross Perot. Now, Ross Perot was a billionaire businessman from Texas who decided to run as an independent. And if it was not for Ross Perot, we would have had a second Bush 1 term. Okay, here they are at the debate: Bill Clinton, Ross Perot, and George H.W. Bush debating. Now, what's really interesting is that Perot had no chance of winning, but as you can see, he did obtain actually 19% of the popular vote. He didn't win a single state outright. He won a few counties, which I'll show you in a second, but he didn't win any state outright. Yeah, he got about 18.9 or almost 19% of the popular vote. 19 million votes. George H.W. Bush got 39 million votes, or 37.5% of the popular vote. And Bill Clinton won 43% of the popular vote. So you can see the Democrats won. They won 32 states and D.C., whereas George H.W. Bush won 18 states, but it was a simple majority. It was not a 50% plus election. Obviously, Ross Perot helped Bill Clinton win the election. Now, what's interesting now in this 2016 is you've got this libertarian candidate, Johnson. Now, he was a former governor of New Mexico, and Gary Johnson is his name. And according to this, he's got 11% of the national-wide vote, which again means there's no way that he's going to win. He can't win at all. Let's look going back at the results. As you can see, these are states where Perot got a certain amount of vote. Now, these darker areas is where Perot actually won the county. But again, unless you win a state outright, you get no votes for the Electoral College, which is how a president is actually elected. He didn't win a single state, Ross Perot. So this Gary Johnson candidacy is really a red herring, and it's really a vote for Gary Johnson is a vote for Hillary Clinton, to be honest with you. That's what's up. That is what's up right now. Now, let's talk about Black Lives Matter, and let's compare that campaign of terror with the environmentalist campaign of 1992. Now, as an historian, as a person who was alive during 1992, the election, and those of you who can remember, just think about it, remember, almost every single night on the news, you had these left-wing liberal protesters protesting about the environment. Every single night on the news, there were these protests in front of the White House. Everywhere that George H.W. Bush went, they were protesting the environment, right? Bill Clinton was talking about how he's going to save the environment and stuff like that. And when he won, the next day, the protests ended. They stopped their protesting. And Bill Clinton did nothing substantially. Didn't do anything on the environment. And that's when I realized that whole environmental protesting was nothing but political. It was all political. They didn't care about the environment, these people. They just wanted Bill Clinton to get elected. Once he got elected, the protesting stopped, even though Bill Clinton didn't make any substantial changes to any environmental policies that the previous administration had in place. Black Lives Matter is the same situation. Oh, and by the way, here was Bill Clinton's, one of his campaign buttons. Now, I don't know if this was endorsed by the campaign or not, or just some third-party person. Look, rebuild America for our children. Huh? Make America great again? I don't know if this is something that Trump could use to show that these guys have been in power for 30, 40 years. Have they rebuilt America? No, they've made it worse. Oh, by the way, one of the key points that Ross Perot was harping on was that NAFTA was going to create that sucking sound of jobs going to Mexico, and it would depress the wages in this country. And he was 100% correct. Look at that map, study it hard. This is what a vote for Gary Johnson is going to do. Okay? If you want real change, the only real change candidate is Donald J. Trump, who is repeating over and over again, as he has for over 20 years. If you go look back at his interviews with Oprah or with Phil Donahue, again, 20 years ago, Trump has been talking about the same issues about protecting our country, making our country great again, fixing the country, and always deferring to hope that other politicians would get in there and do the job, but reserving the right to run for president to fix a situation if it got bad enough. Those are really important points that people who maybe are not thinking that Trump is serious need to think about. This guy's serious, very serious about winning and about making the country great again. All right, so this Black Lives Matter thing, obviously it may have started out peacefully or with good intentions, but we knew from the get-go that Mike Brown was really the reason for the starting of the Black Lives Matter movement. But then we know that Mike Brown is a bad example for Black Lives Matter. No cop is trying to kill black people just randomly, just going out killing black people. It's just not happening. What happened in the Mike Brown situation that we know is that Mike Brown was a troubled youth. Let's just call it that. A troubled youth, okay? He had just committed a strong-arm robbery in a convenience store, stealing cigars, and he was stopped by the cops. And instead of submitting, he resisted arrest, tried to take the cop's gun, discharged the cop's gun, then ran. When the cop told him to stop, he turned around and charged a police officer where he was shot, justifiably, ruining this cop's life. Darren Wilson, his life is ruined because of him just doing his job and protecting himself. And that is think about it, that is the crux of Black Lives Matter. That is what started it, right? The inspiration. This whole Black Lives Matter thing is built upon lies. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't legitimate issues with black people, even myself, a man with a tan who's always got a plan. I've been stopped many times by the cops and harassed. And so I'm not saying that blacks don't have some legitimate issues with the sense that they are being hassled by the man. Okay? I've been hassled by the man. I'm not black except from the waist down. I'm a man with a tan who always has a plan. And my plan is to stay the hell away from the white man's law, white man's courthouse, and stay away from the cops. And I'm doing that pretty effectively here in Poland. To recap, we are seeing a similar setup to 1992. That is the only way. Ross Perot's candidacy was the only way that Bill Clinton ever got elected the first time. Okay, and we're seeing a similar situation with Gary Johnson in this Libertarian Party trying to move in. He has no chance of winning with even less of a percentage than Ross Perot had. Less support nationwide than Ross Perot had. He may make less of an impact on the election, but fact that he's still in there, and the fact that there are still some Never Trump people, of course there are now with the results from the FBI investigation, there are plenty of Never Hillary or ABC, anybody but Clinton voters out there who may vote for Gary Johnson. So it's really hard to predict right now the effect of Gary Johnson on the election, but it won't be good. That's all I can say. This has been In the News. I'm Holy Joe Rock and Roll. I wanted you to think about what happened in 1992, compare that to the current situation. If you have any comments, you were there in 1992. Do you see some of the parallels, some of the similarities in what's going on? Or do you see something different? I'd love to hear from you. Till next time, make it happen for the captain, because you're the mother effing captain.
Thank you for watching In the News, a feature of HJRR TV and presented by the Reverend Dr. Holy Joe Rock and Roll. Please rate us, follow us on Twitter, and subscribe to this channel for more In the News.